What's going on, guys? It's the crazy week 12 recap here in the VFL. And this was another crazy week. This whole season's just been insane. And just remember, as hard as we have it as fantasy football owners, I feel for these GMs and these guys playing, man. I mean, the Broncos didn't even start a freaking quarterback. Um, the Saints are starting Taysom Hill, who what threw 9 passes. This is just insane. It's a crazy week. These guys are just they're getting injured like crazy because of the shortened off season. They're getting sick. It's spreading throughout the teams. GMs and coaches have no idea who's going to be playing on Sunday. We have no idea who's going to be playing on Sunday. And so we're going to be making some changes with our transaction process going forward because of all this, especially going into the playoffs. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll also take a look at the playoff picture. But first, let's recap the week. So, Habanos crushed me by almost 20 points because my team decided that they didn't want to play. Um, Kyler Murray got me less than 10 points. I mean, it was just bad. Um, Antonio Gibson just went off. So did Justin Jefferson. So two, rookies just blowing it up for Habanos, along with the highest scoring tight end of the week, and he gets a win out of that. So well done, sir. At one point on Sunday night's game, I actually thought that I had a chance. The Packers D were looking good. They had a touchdown return. They only had 3 points against at the end of the first half. Tanyan, I think, had like 10 points. It was just looking really, really good. And then yeah, it was like the Robert Tanyan show after that. And somehow they let Chicago come back and score 21 points in the second half. So there went my victory. So Habanos is now going to move to 5-7. I am going to drop to 5-7. Puts us both tied in our division, which we'll get to the standings and the implications there. The big game of the big turnout of the week was Mad Dogs just going off. Um, he's got 185.8 points right now, and he still has two more players to play tonight, which we'll get to tonight's game here in a second. But yeah, that's disgusting. The good news for the rest of the league is that one of my favorite players in the league, Will Fuller, Golden Domer, is suspended for the rest of the year for PEDs. You know what? I have to say I'm not surprised because Fuller's been healthy all season. It's the first season he's ever been fully healthy, and so to find out that he's taking PEDs is not exactly surprising. But it is disappointing and it's sad. As an Irish fan, you expect more from your alums. So, um, but good job, Anthony. Big win there. That's going to take you to 7-5, which is awesome. Puts you, I think, in second place. But like I said, we'll take a look at the standings. Thunder Blender is officially out of the playoffs with this loss, and we'll talk more about those implications here in a little bit. Um, Moving on, big win. The game of the week. The top two teams in the Armchair Quarterbacks division, Chet Casher and Horn Dogs. Big win from the Horn Dogs here. He needed this. He now moves into first place in that division. Does not clinch, but clinches a playoff spot, but not the first round bye yet. Um, so good job there, Dad. Big win for you from you. Mahomes, Mahomie comes through big time. Dude, poor Cam Newton only gets 8 points for Chet Casher. Um, that's tough. That's really tough to see that. Um, I don't know if, well, yeah, dude, Chet Casher could have won this if he had played Stafford and the Cardinals D instead of the Browns defense, which got 0 points. Like, how absurd is that? That your defense gets you 0 points, not a single sack, which is crazy because it's Jacksonville, right? So Jacksonville, I think, started Mike Glennon. So you would have expected that this was going to be like the stream of the week. Not a single sack, no picks, no nothing. Gave up too many yards, gave up too many points, and they get 0 points. Like That's brutal, Chris. Feel for you, man. Next game of the week. This was a big one. This was really tight game. It was winnable. It could have been totally different depending on the different starts and sits that people chose. Um, you know, Willie could have won this thing if he had played T. Higgins. He still has a shot to win this. He has Chase Claypool going tonight. Um, so there is a shot. If Willie wins, then this completely changes the playoff picture, and we'll get into that. So this is still really, really close. But yeah, I mean, playing Mecole Hardman over T. Higgins, which I don't blame you. You know, T. Higgins with a backup quarterback, but T. Higgins still proved that he is a top receiver on his team with a good performance there. Next up, better than the Jets beats the Walking Dead. This was big. This was big for Barrett. Barrett now clinches a playoff spot with this win. So good job there, Barrett. The Walking Dead just did not have enough, didn't have what it took. When, I mean, IR out. You have four players that are all out, one on IR. Like, that's brutal. Todd Gurley was like a last minute scratch. Like, what the hell, man? And that was really the one thing that I saw that was like, okay, we need to make some changes here to our transaction process. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But good job, Barrett, on the win. This is going to knock the Walking Dead out of the playoff picture. He will now be sitting with Thunder Blender in the consolation bracket. And then another big game of the week was This League is a Breeze against the Ghost of Steve Largent. These two teams tied going into this game. Breeze had a better divisional record, but now does not. So he has just 4-1 in the division. Now he's going to be sitting at 4-2. It's now he's also fighting for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, John Wilson is a game up, and so he's sitting in a good spot to get into the playoffs here. Uh, Brutal week for Zach. I mean, only one player scored over 8 points on his entire team. Um, that's just dirty. And yeah, he still has the Steelers defense going up against a beat up Baltimore team, but oh man, just a brutal game. Only 52 points thus far. Um, so that's this week. Now, when we look at tonight's game, I sent out an email to everyone with the contingency plan, basically saying if Pittsburgh Baltimore does not play, put those guys in your lineup if you want to play them. Uh, but in case the game gets canceled, who would you want to replace those players? Now, Barrett, John Wilson, and Zach were the three that responded with changes. So if the game would get canceled, here's who I would want to play instead. That's not going to have any implications on the results of the games. What will have implications is if the game plays. If the game plays, the big game in question is Don't Panic and Tons of Anarchy, looking at Chase Claypool. He's the player to watch because if Claypool gets uh, more than 9.5 points, Don't Panic wins. And that will have some huge implications with the playoffs, which let's go ahead and take a look at the playoff picture. So, um, like I said, if Don't Panic wins, they put themselves in only one game back. That they'll only be one game back from making the playoffs, which is huge. If Tons of Anarchy wins, they clinch the first round bye. So big implications there. Barrett, like I said, better than the Jets. He has clinched a playoff spot. There, myself and Habanos are both sitting tied at 5-7, trying to get that third spot. So next week's games are huge for the two of us. Horn Dog clinches his playoff spot. He'll be 8-4, one game up from Check Casher, Steve Largent, and Mad Dogs. Um, those three teams are trying to fight it off Yeah, those three teams are trying to fight off each other for the second and third spots. Um, but Breeze and if Don't Panic wins, then Breeze and Don't Panic are only one game back from those guys. So there is a scenario in which two of those three teams sitting in second place lose, and Breeze or Don't Panic wins, and one of them sneaks their way into that third spot. So um, it's unlikely, but it's a possibility. So keep that in mind. If both myself and Habanos win next week, then Habanos takes it because he has the much better divisional record. Um, of the teams fighting out playoff spots for the armchair quarterbacks division, um, this league is a breeze is sitting at 4-2, um, and they have the best. Yeah, they have the best divisional record at 4-2. So if it comes down to a playoff tiebreaker, Breeze would take it. Um, if Breeze loses and Don't Panic lose, then it's between Chet Casher, Steve Largent, and Mad Dogs. And of those three, I think they're all tied. No, Mad Dogs has the worst of the three, so he would lose out. So keep that in mind, guys, as you're going into this week. Now, I had a question about the playoffs. When you look at the projected playoff bracket, it's completely wrong. So we don't do top six teams in the league. We do top three from each division, go down to the division championship. Division champions will then play each other. That's how we play. So don't look at the projected playoff bracket. It's not going to give you your right things. I'm going to have to change that up once after next week to actually put the right teams in. Um, so it's still anyone's game. Tons of Anarchy clinches first round bye. Other than that, and Horn Dogs clinches a playoff spot. But other than that, it's still all up in the air. So keep that in mind. Thunderblender, Walking Deads are officially in the consolation bracket. What that means is that the loser advances in the consolation bracket because we want to find out who the worst team in the league is. Um, there's no benefit to winning the consolation bracket, but there are implications to winning winning it, right? And so loser advances. Who's the worst team in the league? If I don't make the playoffs, I guarantee you I'm in the running there. So now, when I talked about transactions, so here's what happens, okay? ESPN and the shitty platform that it is does not allow us to run transactions on Sundays. Meaning, so Yahoo does this, Sleeper app does this. I think even CVS was letting us do this. Um, you run your free agent budget throughout the week, but then on Sundays and on Mondays, you are allowed to do a first come, first serve waiver transaction for teams playing that day, right? So, meaning, and here's the use case that I came across this week. Todd Gurley was a scratch coming up like on Sunday morning leading up to the game. Um, if someone wanted to pick up Brian Hill or Ito Smith, they weren't able to. And that's problematic. Like we should be able to make those day of transactions based on players in our lineups, based on the injury reports that come out before the game, things like that. So what I'm going to do right now, we have it set so that the waivers process at midnight, um, starting Tuesday night and running through Monday night. Okay. Oh no, it's going running through Sunday night. Okay. So I'm going to change that time. We are now going to process waivers starting at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Okay. So at 10 a.m. Wednesday, that will be the first waiver transaction for the week. Okay. Instead of doing Tuesday night, we're going to push it out to 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And the waivers will run Wednesday through Sunday, meaning that you can do your ad drops all like at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So if there are players that are on the injury report, if something happens Sunday morning, someone tests positive for COVID, different things like that, um, you'll be able to replace those players in your lineup on Sunday mornings. Waivers will run Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. You'll have an hour after they run to make changes to your lineups, and then well, you have 55 minutes, I should say, to make changes to your lineups, and then the games will kick off at 11. So that's how we're going to do it now. Okay, I'm making that change right now. So you can expect to see that change starting tomorrow. You'll notice that waivers did not run last night because the week is not officially over. So they did not run the waivers because the tonight's game basically. So 10 a.m. tomorrow is when waivers will start. All right, so you'll see that kick off 10 a.m. tomorrow. So get your waiver picks in tonight, your bids in. Now, previewing next week in light of the standings and the playoff race. So I have a really tough game against Better Than the Jets. Um, Now, Barrett uh, does not need, well, Barrett needs to win because, let me see here, what's our records? No, he does not need to win. So if Barrett loses, he will still make the playoffs because he has a better divisional record than me. Um, if Habanos wins. So if I win, Habanos wins, Barrett loses, Habanos and Barrett will be the ones that make the playoffs, and I will not. So I need to win, and I need Habanos to lose in order for me to make the playoffs. That's the picture. Habanos wins, and he's in. He takes that third spot. He has the better divisional record. He is going up against This League is a Breeze, who also needs a win. If This League is a Breeze wins, he is in. And here's why. The Ghost of Steve Largent and Mad Dogs are going up against each other. So only one of those teams will win. Okay? One of those teams will win. But so one of those teams will be sitting at, let's see, they're both at 7-5 right now. So one of those teams will be sitting at 8-5. This League is a Breeze will be sitting at 7-6. Check Casher, who's also at 7-6. If they win, they'll be at 8-5. Okay, so the only way for This League as a Breeze to make it in is if Chet Casher loses to Thunder Blunder, then they are in. Okay? Chet Casher loses, This League as a Breeze wins, Zach is in. Chet Casher, if you win, you are in. Whoever wins in the Mad Dogs versus Steve Largent game is in. If Don't Panic wins tonight, then they are in the same boat as Breeze, I believe. Although they don't have as good of a divisional record. And so I think, oh, interesting. Interesting. The only way Don't Panic can win is if it can be in, is if they win this week's game, right? Because they're playing, yeah, they're playing Horn Dogs. So that'll give them a win in the division. The only way Don't Panic can make it is if they win, Chet Casher loses, This League is a Breeze loses, and Mad Dogs wins because Mad Dog has the worst divisional record. So that's four things that need to happen for Willie to make the playoffs. So I don't know. Do you believe in miracles? I don't know. We'll see. This is gonna be crazy. The one game that has no repercussions or consequences for the playoff race at all is the Tons of Anarchy Walking Dead game. It is a completely moot point. Tons of Anarchy has already clinched. If they win this week, will have clinched the first round bye. If they lose, they still clinch a playoff spot. So it doesn't matter. And the Walking Dead is out of it. They're in the consolation bracket. Doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He's in the consolation bracket. So crazy, crazy week happening. Lots of just possibilities for making the playoffs. Good luck this week, guys. I'm hoping that guys are healthy this week. I'm hoping that no one's, you know, gets hit with the COVID bug. Um, and remember that we have another bye this week. So what teams are on bye this week? I forgot. Hold on a second. We have Bucks and Carolina. Yes, Carolina and the Bucks are on bye this week, um, which is a real pain because it'd be nice to have McCaffrey this week if he was healthy again. I also have Chris Godwin, so that's two good players of mine that are off. Mike Evans, Gronk, DJ Moore, Brady, Bridgewater, all on bye. Holy cow! All right, not fun. Good luck everyone this week. Get your waiver picks in. They will process, like I said, at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. See ya.